Instructional designers are unicorns today. We need to be all the things to all the people. Instructional designers, e-learning developers, graphic designers, project managers, QC specialists, therapists, all the things. Which I think is why this field feels like so much. And that's why today I'm going to tell you the one thing IDs do that makes them fail every day. So the one thing that IDs do that makes them fail, they focus on the tool. That's right. I am seeing posts over and over and over again. Focus on how do I learn Storyline? I can't put a portfolio because I don't know Storyline. Well, guess what, friends? Instructional design is way more than just the tool. And knowing the tool doesn't mean that what you're going to be hired to do, that tool might not be that solution. You are an instructional designer. You need to focus on the transformation for the learner. You need to focus on changing behavior, affecting performance, not the specific tool. And if you can get that part of the education as an instructional designer, you can go out there. You don't need to have all the pieces of all the things that I mentioned that you need to be in order to put yourself out there and get your first job. All of those pieces come with time. All of those pieces you learn over time. If you waited until you were amazing at every single one of those pieces, you're going to die never starting in instructional design because no one is ever amazing at all of those things. We always have an area that we could always do better or we feel like we're not good enough yet. Imposter syndrome munch? That's right. So instead of focusing on all the things that you have to be and focusing on just making sure that you know articulate Storyline, figure out whether or not you even want to be an e-learning developer. Just focus on getting an instructional design position, actually writing, actually developing curriculum, doing those pieces, or even a coordinator or junior designer position that's going to help you upscale and that's going to help train you and it's going to show you a process. So how can you avoid failure? Focus on performance and outcomes and not training. So over the years, I will tell you this, instructional designers have totally shifted from more training development to performance consultants. And I love that change. It gives us actually more ability to do more with our role as opposed to just writing training and writing content every single day. We actually are able to engage and affect learning and affect someone else's life, really. So spend your time focusing on what learners need in order to succeed, in order to achieve the goal that it is that you're trying to achieve with that performance gap. Also, learn how to talk to the business. Learn to talk to the business and figure out what they need their people to do. Then have conversations with them about maybe why they think their people are not doing it, and then go talk to their people and really ask them why they're actually not doing it. I can guarantee you 9 times out of 10, it's going to be 2 totally different reasons that you're going to have to then bridge, which brings me to my next tip. Build your relationship skills. If you want to be an instructional designer that focuses on performance, well, they're most likely not going to pick up an instructional designer off the street and say, "Are you a performance consultant? Can you help us with this?" No, they're going to go to people that they already know and trust and that can help them achieve their goals. So start building those relationship skills. Start building that trust. Talk about performance. Talk about how the fact that sometimes the business wants this, but what the learners need is this, and how you can help as an instructional designer so that the business feels happy, but also their learners are getting what they need. That is like some serious, relationship building that you can build there, especially when you have to have a conversation with the business saying, you're saying this, but your learners are actually saying this. Now let's talk about what we can do to bridge this and this together. That sometimes can be a difficult conversation. One of the biggest surprises as an instructional designer when you're first starting out is the fact that your job is often more working with people than it is actually doing the task. Trying to wrangle in SMEs, trying to get them to call you back, trying to get people onto the same page, trying to get people to stop competing with each other on feedback is a lot of times what it is that you're doing day to day. It's not actually sitting, writing, and developing. So take the time now to build your PM skills. Take the time to build up your process for how you are going to work with subject matter experts and people that may not understand this entire process and how to build curriculum. If you set up in the beginning how you all are going to work together, best practices for them, best practices for you, that sets your engagement up on a much better foot than when you just kind of come in and don't really do any of that onboarding orientation piece. My biggest tip for instructional designers when working with SMEs is really spending the time connecting with your subject matter expert and really engaging and trying to build a relationship with them. But if you can create that connection and you can really create kind of like that bond between you and that subject matter expert, it's really a lot harder for them, like as human to human, to ignore your email and not call you back. I have a higher rate of people calling me back and doing what I need them to do because I took the time to build that relationship with them and also met them on their terms. Want to learn more about how I work with subject matter experts? Check out this video that I'm linking above that gives you all my tips of how I work with SMEs. So my third tip is to define your process. Really focus as an instructional designer how you get from point A to point Z. And I know that this can fluctuate and we do need to be flexible and make adjustments, but the core and the foundation of your process should really be the same. And let me tell you something. What I keep hearing over and over again from our clients is they love the fact that we have a process. We take the reins and really own the development of instructional design. I don't own the content. I'm not the subject matter expert, but I own that process. And I walk them through it side by side, holding their hand. Often we make so many decisions that we just get decision fatigue, and our clients feel the same. They don't want to have to make a decision. They want to hire you and they want to feel like you're the expert and you are going to take the reins on this project. So rather than taking the time to build a slide and storyline, focus on practicing getting a ton of content dumped on you and trying to make sense of it. Getting a ton of content dumped on you, and how would you structure a needs analysis? Put together a process to get from a bunch of content or a bunch of PowerPoints and into a storyboard, an interactive experience. Practice getting a bunch of PowerPoints and having to completely change it and make it into a new, VILT product. Those are the types of things that you're going to see as an instructional designer, a full service instructional designer. So don't worry so much always about taking content and putting it into storyline and using the tool. Focus on the actual instruction. Focus on curriculum writing and get a process into place. How you like to receive content. What do you like to review at that phase? What it is that you're looking for at that phase. So many of us, when we start out in the field, and it still happens to me today, I start a project, and if I don't have my process, if it's like a new type of project, I'm like, am I doing okay? Like, where am I starting? What's the beginning? What's the end? And when you're in the beginning of your career, more of that happens more often than not. By doing that practice work and having a process in place, it helps to minimize that moment that you have in the beginning, and you can take the reins. The nice thing too about writing down that process and really kind of like working through it is you can talk about that in an interview. You can talk about that in a sales call. You can put that on your website. So there's no question, how do we work together? You can also build standard operating procedures off of that process. And the beauty about doing this type of work now is that it really does set you up for the future. You don't know if in the future you're going to want to build a bigger business. You don't know that if in the future you're going to need to bring in someone to help you on a project because you just have too much work on your plate. Or let's just say something happens and you need someone to kind of pick up a few pieces of your process to help you move it along. By being able to write down and define your process, you're setting yourself up to create these standard operating procedures of how you do things. That way, if in the future at any point, even if you just take on a junior designer or an intern, they know exactly how you like to do things so they can replicate your process. So now that you know how to avoid the biggest ID fail, check out this next video. This video is going to walk you through the 3 biggest opportunities you have in instructional design in 2022 and beyond. And if you want to continue learning more about the future of learning and development, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell because we're talking all about the future of L&D here. Friends, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.